Hello, everyone. Welcome to BizzTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickaway Creators. Today, we have Mr. Hugh Massie with us. He's the chairman and founder of Atlanta-based DNA Behavior International, which he founded in 2001 as the Behavior and Money Insights Company. He's also a global board director of Entrepreneurs Organization. He's also known as Identity Trailblazer and a behavioral finance insight pioneer, serial entrepreneur, award-winning author, experiential speaker, devoted dad, and a keen golfer as well. So he's so many things. He has so many things in his profile. So without further ado, let's jump into him and talk something about himself, and let's understand what his journey has been so far. So hello, Mr. Massie, how are you doing?
Great to be with you today, Sagar. It's fantastic that you found me and we're having this conversation.
Pleasure is all us. Thank you very much for joining us for this session. All right, so without wasting any more time, let me straight away ask you, I tried my level best to cover things in my words out there, but it would be great if we can understand, if our viewers can understand something about you in your own words. That would be wonderful.
So in my own words, and I think this will help you connect the dots, the one thing I didn't have you say in the intro, but I will say now, is that I'm a reformed accountant. So my career started off as a chartered accountant. That's what you would know in India or in America, where I now live in Atlanta, where accountants are known as CPAs.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 10 or so years, worked in Southeast Asia as well, Australia, where I'm from originally. And then when I was done with the corporate world and didn't want to be in a big firm anymore, I left and set up my own wealth management business. And I served individuals and families, anything from $100,000 to $1 billion. I had a full spectrum of clients. And it was in that journey that I could see people's reactions to money were different. Particularly when they were under pressure. And so I decided I wanted to know what that was and what was the root cause of those behaviors so that I could be a better advisor. And at the same time of sort of figuring that out, I also came across my own life purpose, which is to help people become self-empowered all over the world. And so that took me on a journey to discover what were those behaviors. I had chance meetings with people that were psychologists who told me what was going on, that, we're all born with an ingrained DNA style, and that takes over when you're under pressure. That's sort of, in a way, your natural flow. It's instinctive. It's a default automatic position. So I said, well, can you measure that? And my friend and the person helping me with it, Carol Pocklington, who's on my team, she said, you need to meet this guy, Lee Ellison, in Atlanta. He can help you understand that and validate it. So I went to America 40 times in 4 years, validated the system, and went around talking to wealth managers to see, okay, who were like me, do you want to understand these behaviors with your clients? Mm-hmm. Some would say yes, some would say no. It was the normal thing of when you start a business, anybody that has got $1 and says yes, and will talk to you, they could become a client. And that's really, it was very grassroots journey. And then I decided to live in America. Mm-hmm. And, over that time, since 2001 to today, the field of behavioral finance has grown, and people now know what it is. Mm-hmm. And at that time, some wealth managers did. I got a lot of glazed eyes. And that was really, in a way, Sagar, was the challenge was, how do you get people who are used to providing a service one way for all of their life, set in their ways, very anchored to it, to change? And so that meant I had to operate in a way that is not critical of what they were doing, was more make it work with them and what they were doing to add value. And that's just the way that you bring it across in what you say, in the sales process, the use of the technology, making it easier. and there've been a lot of the barriers, but I think one of the barriers, was the fact that there was no market for this.
Mm-hmm.
We were creating it, and I think what's helped is that a very well-known professor by the name of Daniel Kahneman, in 2002 won a Nobel Prize for research theory in the field of behavioral finance. Some others have as well. And then Daniel Kahneman wrote a book in 2012 that, in a way, confirmed the approach that we took. So, which was very independent of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a way, the market has evolved to where we are. We were ahead of our time. And, here I am today, and, we deal with a lot of wealth managers around the world. And we're also dealing more and more with leadership teams and helping them understand their behavior and talents, but also how they react and make financial decisions, because that's key to the success of their business. Money and behavior are completely intertwined.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we'll also talk about, the money impact on decision making. I mean, you were talking about behavioral finance every now and then, so we'll talk about that as well. But let's go a bit deep in your profile in that sense. I mean, you have shifted from Australia to States, and setting up a business wealth management organization or a venture is not that easy, I believe. So I hope I know that you must have came across too many obstacles in your path of success. My question would not be that did you face any of them, because I believe that answer would be yes. I just want to understand what were the obstacles in a general way, and how do you really overcome and supersede them?
Yeah, well, I think if you start at the end of that question, as an entrepreneur and facing obstacles, you have to have a lot of personal resilience. You have to be extremely persistent. In fact, we've tested using our systems a large sample of entrepreneurs, and resilience is really the number one trait. So you've got to have that. And I think my view is, if you don't have a high dose of that built into you, you probably shouldn't start a business. And everyone who runs a business faces obstacles along the way. For me, one obstacle was just simply going to America, not knowing anybody, with my suitcase, not being educated there, and you've got to break into a market.
Mm-hmm.
And which requires relationship building. And people succeed based on having deep sets of relationships. Cold calling doesn't totally work. So that of itself is an obstacle. Understanding there's not a lot of legal barriers to what we do, but understanding how the regulatory systems work, because we've got to work in concert with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so knowing where to start, it's lonely. I think that's been part of the journey itself. I had an obstacle where I formed a partnership with another company as part of getting into America to provide some platform and energy into the business. So I had effectively an interest in a second business that was congruent with the DNA behavior business, which was supposed to help would help me push up the sales quicker. Mm-hmm. But when there's a partnership problem then with them, because of their founder taking steps that were unsatisfactory, I almost lost everything overnight. And it was a big step backwards. I had to restart. So in 2009, 8 and 9, I had to completely restart the business. I had all the ideas, the theory, our research, but technologically, I had to restart. I mean, mm-hmm. We're in the middle of the financial crisis. That was an interesting experience. I sat up all night for a 2-week period, redesigning stuff, getting new programmers, whatever it had to be done, new people. You know, but at the end of the day, Sagar, you've got to have a belief in what you're doing, a belief in the cause. You've got to have your purpose and your passion. If you don't have that, it's not going to happen. If you're just into something for a quick buck, it's not going to happen.
That's right.
You know, people start businesses and think, well, gee, in 5 years, I ought to have Y turnover. And if it's not, I'm just going to get rid of it or walk away. That's not how it always works. There's very few overnight successes. There are some that we can see out there, but I think even those people started out with a purpose, and it just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So you know, I think that's really where the challenges have been. And I think the other one was what I was alluding to before you asked the question, was just getting market acceptance for operationalizing the field of behavioral finance when it never had been. And dealing with that so that you bring something to the market that is easy for people to use and not, you know, being critical necessarily of what they've already been doing, and you're sort of in a way anti-establishment. I think that's what you've got to overcome.
No, that's right. I mean, I am so glad that I asked this question, because I guess our viewers would understand. And I hope everyone knows about it, that in 2008, when we saw that great financial dip around the globe, especially in states, it was, Wall Street really got mad about it. And that's when just 1 year after that, 2009, there was a mess with your partnership. And then you said that you almost lost everything overnight. But I guess everything comes with its pros and cons. And something gives you lesson, something gives you success. So I guess lesson leads to success sometimes. And that was, I mean, I'm not sure how to rate it, but I guess our viewers can, learn more from it. I mean, as you said that.
I think what came from having that massive problem in 2008 and 9, I re-envisaged what my business could be. And now that I had the black cloud of a bad partnership, had gone away because I made it go away. And I re-envisaged the business, and in a way, I think I took sort of the 10x approach to it and said, okay, my goal had been 1, why not turn that goal into 10? And I re-envisaged the structure, the products, and I got the opportunity because I freed myself up by in a way going into the headstorm rather than trying to run away from it. I think that's very important. You know, if you're a buffalo, you run into the storm. If you're a cow, you run away from it, and eventually you die because you haven't got any energy left. You know, so I'm a believer, again, resilient people who know what they're doing, head into it, deal with the mess, and move on. But I reset myself with something better and bigger, and today that shows with a broader based business, but also one that's better set. We've still got a long way to go, but we're a lot further up the mountain than we would have ever been if I hadn't have had that event. And so
that's right. That's right.
Opportunity in bad. It always is one.
That's right. I mean, a true entrepreneurship spirit is always turning no into maybe and maybe into yes. So I guess that's what you did, and it's beautiful. And if it would never have happened, then we will not be discussing that, and it wouldn't come up like this. But it's beautiful. Let's come out of this now. Let's talk about again from your experience. You have seen so many things. Behavioral finance. We're talking about that. So let me come to the thing that I was we were discussing before this question. How does the energy of money impact decision making? For the business professionals.
So I put it in simple terms. Money follows behavior. So we've all got a behavioral style that's made up of who we are, genetically in our early life, what we call the DNA behavior. And then there's also learnings from education, values, life experiences. But if you take it, that's your behavioral, what we would call your financial personality or financial DNA. That drives the money decisions that you make. But money itself has this unique, unexplained energy in its own right. You bring up money anywhere, and that puts people under pressure, and that drives, you know, emotions, sets of biases in its own in its own way that can cause positive and negative behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, everyone, doesn't matter who they are and how much money they've got, have got to work on what is their relationship to money. And, you know, so we know that can be easily seen in a wealth management setting, financial planning setting, managing household finances. You can see that because you're dealing with money from an investment point of view. But it's also important for leaders, you know, and when you're making corporate decisions, you've got to understand that relationship of behavior and money for yourself, because your pay packets there, so that could be a motivation for a certain decision. Your image, your identity. Some people, they build their identity around how much money they have. Well, if money goes away, they've got no identity. That's very bad. That causes then very suboptimal decisions to get made. You know, a lot of companies that go wrong or don't work, it's because the CEO and or the leadership team have a dysfunctional relationship with money.
Mm-hmm.
Banks giving loans to people or businesses, and the salespeople, the lenders getting high commissions out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They've got no responsibility. It's greed, you know. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to what is your identity and what's your relationship to money. And if you've got that set, then you can succeed in life. And you've got to always ensure that that's in balance. You can't get ahead of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I was dealing with a case this morning, you know, coaching somebody who's just been, you know, put in a difficult place by the leader of his business, but the leader of his business is extremely greedy. Well, that greed may actually cause the ultimate collapse of the business, because every other employee and person in the business is going to see what's gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it cascades from there. So these things are, you know, there's always got to be the check and balance. And this is why, Sagar, this is so important for leaders right now. You know, even venture capitalists investing into businesses, understanding the gravitational pull of money is really important. And I think this is that's the big thing that's out there in life for all of us. Whatever setting you're in, money has a huge gravitational pull, and it needs to be understood.
That's right. On a scale of
not just in dollars and cents in a bank account and what investment to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's understanding that gravitational pull and what it's doing to you, what it's doing to others.
On a scale of 10, I mean, in terms of intensity, what would you, I mean, what mark would you give to, you know, money impact? I mean, understanding the money behavioral towards an entrepreneur or an VC on a scale of 10, what should be one's mark on that?
It should be very high, and it you know, I think along with understanding your talents, the resilience levels, and your identity, which I think I would put at the top of the pile.
Mm-hmm.
The next is understanding the energy of money. Now, I could be biased and say they all should be 10 out of 10. They're definitely all at least at 9 out of 10. But I think given that money follows your identity, your talents, I think you've got to have that part set first. And then it's looking around at your relationship to money. But you're not going to go very far, or your life or your business is not going to be sustainable till you got those two things figured out.
That's very well put. That's very well. I guess that's the answer that I was looking at precisely. And no matter what my question was, but this is the answer that I was looking at. That's beautiful. All right. Let's take it one step closer towards the ending of this session. you must have dealt with, as you said, that you have been dealing with organizations having revenue in hundreds of dollars, and I mean in thousands of dollars, and then billions and millions and billions across states specifically. You must have met so many individuals. What are your methods of team management? I mean, your team management, and in a broader sense, what are your methods of people management out there?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. It's a big question, Sagar. But as a leader, it's absolutely key that you are that you have strong character. I think that character can't be in question. That's important. That can play back to your identity. If you haven't got your identity set, you might make character choices that are not great.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that's important. You need to be authentic and definitely approachable as a leader to manage the team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other area that I've got onto in recent times is to be clearer about is the leadership can't be too authoritarian. In a way, if the leader is too authoritarian, you shut the whole team off. You disempower your team, and that will lead to the destruction of the business. And no one, and clearly with that, you're not going to be approachable. So whilst as the leader of the business, you need to be on top, and you're critical to the decision making, you've got to be able to collaborate with your team. And an over authoritarian approach is not going to work. Somehow you've got to learn how, through communication skills, the way you conduct yourself, your own credibility, to learn to influence the team the right way. And if you've got the right people on the team, they will also know how to follow. But there's also areas where that is stepping back from being authoritarian. It could be seen that you're following, but you may not necessarily be. You still got to be out in front. And then I think the other thing is just having the courage to do the right thing, and that's always important. And I think with some of that is admitting mistakes, whether that's to an employee or to a customer, and moving on from that, clearing it up. So that they would be important things. And then once that's sorted out, that's structural. Then it's how does the team communicate with each other? Ensuring there's no hidden agendas in the room, getting the elephant out of the room, making it psychologically safe for people to talk. They can say what they think they need to say without being fired. There's obviously boundaries.
That's right.
I think those things are important. A transparent environment. So they would be the main things, because ultimately all of those things together builds trust, and that's the key thing.
That's right. That's again very well put. My last question for the session would be, how does the life of an wealth management individual like you, especially who is dealing with financial behavior, looks like? I mean, what do you specifically do? And in a layman's language, how our viewers should see your profile?
Yeah, so I'm not a wealth manager anymore, in a sense that I don't manage money for people. I'm running, just to clarify it for the viewers, I'm really running a company in the area of human behavior that's technology driven. So I think what I've done is I've pinpointed my role to being the product innovator. So I think the most important thing I can do is to be close to the product and the quality of the product, because that then drives the rest of the things. And it's how the product, it's not just is the product accurate, it's how the product is used and applied. That's where a lot of the innovation has come in our business. And if I do that, that's probably the primary thing. And then is looking after some of the larger customer or distributor relationships. But that's really from an ideation point of view. They're the main things for me to do. So I think it's very important that, again, as the leader, you've got to find your own identity, and from there drill down to the 2 or 3 activities that are critical to the success of the business. And as the business grows, you keep on doing those activities and bring everybody else in for the other area, for the other things. And that's true for. I listened to a woman I know in Atlanta recently she's got $1 billion business called Spanx. And that is exactly what she does. Her work or involvement is being close to the product.
That's beautiful.
Say to any product designer, technology entrepreneur, is be close to your product.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Last verdict would be where our viewers can really find you. I mean, apart from LinkedIn, can they find you somewhere else?
So I can be found on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also I'm there on Instagram. I'm probably not as big on Instagram as I should be, or just go to dnabehavior.com, which is our website, and take a look there.
Great. Now, I guess now our viewers knows where to find Mr. Massie. And I want you to, I mean, if you need any advice or anything related to his domain, you just can go through him and have some consultation from him. He is best at what he does. And I really enjoyed this session. I hope Mr. Massie also enjoyed this one.
It was fantastic, Sagar. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine, Mr. Massie. All right, so let's end this with some thank you notes. I would, of course, love to thank you. Thank you so much for sharing such great insights with us about your profile and, in a broader sense about your industry as well. And we, of course, look forward to having a great chat with you again in the future on some other trending topics in the international business industry. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Mr. Massie, please like and share this video, and also click on that red button and subscribe to ClickAway Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming in from industry leaders like Mr. Hugh Massie. This was Sagar for BizzTalk World signing off. Thank you very much for joining us.